During his visit to Iraq, President Bush said that he believes that the country's making great progress. So, as the president's term draws to a close and with much of his legacy tied to Iraq, we decided to take a closer look at some of the numbers. Each week, the Brookings Institution updates its Iraq Index, a status report on conditions inside Iraq. According to the most recent report, civilian deaths are way down from a high of 3,700 per month 2 years ago to about 500 today. Attacks on coalition forces are down dramatically too, but some other numbers also caught our attention. There are now over 13 million cell phone users in Iraq. Before the war, there were almost none. Over 800,000 Iraqis now have internet service, up from only 4,500 before the war. In December, residents of Baghdad still have had only 14 hours of electricity a day, and unemployment remains stubbornly high, some 40%. Joining me to talk about all of this is Michael OHanlon of the Brookings Institution. He's the senior author of the Iraq Index, and he specializes in U.S. national security policy. Mr. OHanlon, thank you for joining us.
Nice to be with you.
The numbers in the latest Iraq Index seem to be a mixed bag. What does it say about the current conditions in the country there?
Well, it's a mixed bag if you're thinking of living in Iraq. It's not a mixed bag in terms of progress over the last 2 years. The improvement has been dramatic, especially, as you mentioned, on the security front, but also now in the political realm, where, according to the benchmarks that we track here most closely, Iraq was basically scoring a 0 out of 11 big issues that demanded government attention a couple years ago. And now, according to our admittedly imprecise but still best effort kind of numbers, is scoring a 7 out of 11. Now, the 4 issues that remain unresolved could blow the country apart again if things get worse, so I don't want to sound triumphalist. But compared to where Iraq was 2 years ago, I simply could never have predicted that even a best-case scenario for the surge would have produced the kind of results we're seeing now. Yet there is a huge amount still to do, and things could still reverse. So,
and when we talk about specifically the security situation, is that solely because of the surge, as you say?
Well, yes, but not the surge of American forces by themselves. What I define a surge as is an emphasis on protecting the population. That's an emphasis that we never had before. You know, Secretary Rumsfeld has recently written a New York Times op-ed suggesting that he almost had laid the groundwork for the surge. That's not true, because even though he had increased forces under his tenure, it was never with the goal of protecting the Iraqi population. That change in strategy came with General Petraeus in early 2007, and the Iraqis delivered the majority of the forces needed to do that. It was not primarily the American troop increase that was responsible. It was more the change in strategy, the improved effectiveness of the Iraqi forces, which we, the Americans, had a lot to do with, but they delivered the results on the ground in the end, and this focus on protecting the population. And so, yes, that was the main reason for success, but it was not just about 5 more American brigades.
When you look at these statistics, and there are many, as you note, what is the one that really stands out? What's the most telling statistic about conditions in Iraq today, and why?
Well, I thought you did a good job by starting with the civilian fatality number. That's not the only indicator, of course. And, of course, it doesn't tell you if the progress is durable. So after that one, I would look pretty quickly at 2 other things. One is this political benchmark score, where, again, I think they're now at about a 7 out of 11 key issues, but there are still at least 4 big issues that remain. And then, secondly, the quality and excellence of the Iraqi security forces themselves, because that's essentially our exit strategy, since Iraqi troops and police are now increasingly doing what American soldiers and Marines used to do. And so those are the 3 that I would emphasize. You also have to look at the economy, of course, but that's one where progress has been a little slower. Thankfully, Iraq's an oil producer in a period when oil has shot up in price, even though it's now come back down a bit. So there is enough money to lubricate the system, even if the economy's not really that healthy. But I would begin with the 3: civilian fatalities, Iraqi political progress, and the training and equipping of the Iraqi security forces.
Michael OHanlon, thank you very much from the Brookings Institution. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.